Give me 20 minutes and you'll learn how to market your pre-orders without heavy reliance on ads. Anyone can use AI or pay someone to set up their Shopify store nowadays, but not everyone can drive the right traffic and convert them into actual sales. I've seen this again and again with merchants who are new to Shopify, or they might be new to running pre-orders. They're obsessed with getting the technical setup perfect. So they spend days deciding what and which apps to use. They want to tweak the checkout flow. They want to edit every single word on their product pages, but they haven't put enough thought into the most important question, which is, how will people actually know you exist and that you're running pre-orders? I am Josiah, co-founder of the Early Bird app. We've worked with more than 1,000 Shopify merchants on the pre-order campaigns, and the biggest issue isn't choosing the right product to sell, but the lack of distribution and differentiation. So this is what we'll be learning today. I'm going to walk you through 3 actual merchant conversations we've had, what I told them about marketing their pre-orders, and what you need to do before your product launch to actually get sales. Let's get into it. Example 1, a New York dress brand. So earlier this year, a new fashion brand founder in New York reached out about setting up their pre-orders. I'm not going to use her real name, so let's just say her name's Maria. Maria and her team done everything right technically. So beautiful product photos, got all their pre-order policy pages done up, set very clear expectations with customers about the shipping timelines, etc. But they got 0 sales for the first launch. And it wasn't because their dress designs weren't good. It wasn't because they didn't have a marketing budget to run ads. Also wasn't because their website looked terrible either. It was simply because no one knew their launch was happening. So she said, hey Josiah, I've done all these things already. I've got really great dress designs. I've made 100 of them. We pay a lot to set up our beautiful website. We've tried posting organically on Instagram. We haven't ran a lot of ads yet because we don't have a huge budget. Obviously because Maria and her team has all the funds and cash flow stuck in those 100 dresses. So, hey Josiah, can you please take a look at my pre-order setup and advise if we should do a waitlist first or go straight to pre-orders for our second launch? So my advice was to start capturing waitlist signups immediately. Now in a perfect world, Maria and her team should be selling pre-orders to secure cash flow earlier, right? So she has the money to invest in other business aspects sooner, like marketing, photo shoots, etc. But realistically, if you're a new brand starting from scratch, you have 0 credibility, 0 conversion history, no social proof. So it's going to be a really hard sell. Capturing waitlist signups first will actually be a much lower barrier entry for you as a new brand to get started. But even then, say in Maria's case, she needs to get more than 5,000 email signups to potentially get 100 sales. And if you do the maths, that's a 2% estimated conversion rate from waitlist to pre-orders. This is based on what we've seen amongst most new Shopify merchants, new brands starting out with no social proof, trying to do their first launch, run waitlist and pre-orders. Now for established brands, obviously it depends on what you're selling, which category, etc. But Early Bird serves quite a lot of bigger brands on advanced and plus plans as well. We see a 10% to 20% waitlist to pre-order conversion rate for them. But here's the more important part I told Maria. Your brand's positioning matters more than the pre-order offer and discount. Positioning should come first before marketing. Too many merchants jump straight to choosing the marketing channels without figuring their positioning first. So positioning is actually a business fundamental that's often mentioned in software marketing, software SaaS, and product marketing, but it's not often mentioned in e-com. So instead of trying to target everyone, which you'll end up appealing to no one, you start narrow first, decide who you want to serve, which customer segments you want to serve, for what purpose, and what product use cases. Otherwise, there are too many competitive brands out there. It's a copycat economy nowadays, right? And your marketing, both organic and paid, will sound generic, will be very ineffective, and you won't be able to stand out. For example, we actually had this merchant selling surf gear whose tagline was surfboards for surfers. Super common, right? You know, startups love this cliche tagline. You know, made by a founder in this profession for people in that profession. So that was the first one. And then we had another surf gear brand who went down the route of targeting parents buying their kids' first surfboard. So right away you can tell it's much easier for the second brand to know what content to create, which keywords to target, and what their marketing channels should be. Another example, lab-grown diamonds. Had this consulting client selling lab-grown jewelry. So it's an incredibly competitive category with ridiculously high app bidding costs on Google and high CPMs on Meta. So CPMs, for those who are not familiar with running ads, it means the cost to show your ads 1,000 times. It doesn't even necessarily mean you're showing to 1,000 different people. It's just 1,000 impressions. So it's pretty useless if you ask me. Instead of going for the typical keywords, my client positioned her line of products as the jewelry for your life journey. So from dating to engagement to wedding to being a family heirloom. So that was the purpose. And then for use cases, it could be for someone's daughter's 18th birthday, for wedding anniversaries, or for a sister's postnatal gift, or simply a little gift bought by rich people for their partners, just because. Same products from the same supplier, but different positioning. And this is how my clients stood out from this incredibly competitive category. Once you figure out your positioning, even if it's just a hypothesis, as you're just starting out, your marketing becomes much more effective because you know exactly who you're speaking to, who you're creating content for, who you're selling to. As for your pre-order offer, instead of leading with the usual get 10% off if you pre-order today, try positioning it as a reservation. So something like reserve your dress before the launch. So this way you make it feel exclusive. You give your customers a reason to take action rather than cheapen the value of your brand and products. If you've watched my past videos, you know I'm not a huge fan of discount. And of course, you pair this with your founder story because that's your biggest differentiator from competitors. So why these dresses? What makes them different? So who are these dresses for? Show your potential customers that you have a strong conviction about what you're selling, what you're doing. You're not just doing this to make easy money like a lot of the dropshippers out there do. So this way, competitors, they can't replicate your brand like they do with your product. And that's the power of positioning. So in the next example, I'll show you what happens when you have a good product but no distribution at all. Example 2, an Austrian vase maker. So this one's a great example of having a good product but zero distribution. Distribution means the action of sharing something out there amongst a number of people. So this 3D artist, let's call him Gareth, he was making these beautiful printed vases and he found me on Reddit and reached out for advice. So he had already bought 24 glass inserts and people were telling him he should sell them and have a go at selling on Shopify, not just as a offline hobby. So it's all very exciting, right? People encouraging you to take that leap, do your own thing, but there are 2 classic mistakes here that many new merchants make as well. So number 1, confusing verbal interest with actual commitment to buy. And number 2, only thinking about selling online. Now remember, the goal here is to get pre-orders, get sales. We want a customer to pay for your product with actual money, not just saying that, hey, I'll pay for it, I'm happy to pay for it. If not, then the second best option is a partial deposit. I know it's not a full payment up front, but it's still a commitment to buy because that's part of the money paid for. And then the third best option is an email sign up. Verbal interest actually means very little. It actually means nothing. Talk is cheap. And it doesn't matter where you promote your products, online, offline, as long as it's consistently shown to the right people. Because at any given time, your customers are split into 2 groups. They're either in market ready to buy your product or they're not ready yet. And the majority are in the second group, not ready to buy yet. So you want to win that battle in the minds of deciding which product to buy before they even need to make that decision. When Gareth asked me about setting up pre-orders, I didn't talk about the technical setup in our early bird app at all because you can have the best product and the best technical pre-order setup, but it's nothing without distribution and marketing. So instead, I asked Gareth, how will people know your products exist? Where can you sell besides on your Shopify store online? Could be on Etsy, that's still online. What about offline at local cafes? Maybe your home decor stores. Where do your ideal customers hang out? This is what I mean by the distribution problem that no one talks about. Everyone on social media talks about running ads, conversion rate optimization, tweaking product pages, optimize the checkout flows, etc. But your main constraint actually isn't just the conversion rate. The step before that is driving the right traffic in volume so people know you even exist. Look up 19 traction channels from the book Traction. It'll walk you through a list of potential customer acquisition channels like digital marketing, which everyone already knows about, traditional and unconventional PR, some of them, sometimes you call it publicity stunts, and offline methods like trade shows, events, and offline ads like direct mail and billboard, which is actually still very popular. They also touch on partnerships and direct sales, which I think are often neglected, but can be very effective if you want to sell retail or B2B or wholesale first. So zero distribution is one problem, but what about when you actually have an audience already? And that's where our third example comes in. Example 3, a nutritionist launching her own supplements. This one's a bit different because Grace, that's her real name, actually has her own audience built from her consulting services. She's been working as a nutritionist, she has a decent Instagram following, she already has an email list from her consultancy. Now she wants to launch her first physical product, prenatal supplements. She already understood the customer mindset I mentioned before, so people who are ready to buy and people who are not ready to buy yet. So one of her main questions was, How far in advance should I warm up my audience? Is 4 weeks enough for the launch? And my answer to that was, it's never too early to start building your own audience. Whether you're an established brand or a new one starting out, it's never too early to do this, to build your own audience. Because when you run ads, it's a renter audience. Once you stop paying for ads, there's no way for you to reach these people again unless you pay for it. That's why it's called rented. Even with organic social, you and I both know the algo is always changing. So it doesn't guarantee your content can be seen by the same percentage of followers the next week. Waitlist signups allows you to gauge interest and grow your mailing list at the same time. So it's different from ads. So keep in mind though, not all back-in-stock widgets helps you capture the marketing content. So make sure you check whatever app, whatever way you're doing that, it has the functionality to do so like early bird. The goal isn't just to collect emails. So like the 3D vase makeup, the goal is to stay on top of mind. So when people are ready to buy, you're the first brand or at least one of the few brands that they think of. But there's also the additional benefit here where Grace won't have to heavily rely on ads on renter audience when it's time to run her pre-orders to tell people about her product launch, because she already has a mailing list to send out to free of charge with a much higher reach. Now Grace is launching supplements, right? Which is categorized as FMCG products, fast moving consumer goods, and that adds another layer. For FMCG, you might not want to take pre-order payment too early. 2 reasons why. Number 1, payment processors get nervous when you take customers' payments too early in advance. You risk getting flagged, or you might even have your Shopify account put on hold. So make sure you document everything. Number 2, it's just a poor customer experience overall. FMCG means your customers can easily buy the same stuff or an alternative from a competitor. So it's more readily available. Who would want to pay for something and wait for weeks when that's readily available elsewhere? Unless you have a really strong brand that customers want to associate themselves with. So instead, I told Grace to start building her waitlist ASAP, send regular updates about the product development, share her founder's journey, her behind the scenes content about the formulation, testing, packaging, whatever she feels comfortable to share. And then open up pre-orders when it's closer to launch, maybe about 2 to 3 weeks out before the stock arrives at the warehouse. So at least she can secure the cash flow earlier and shorten that cash conversion cycle. I also told Grace something that most marketing gurus probably won't tell you. Ads should be a supplement to your growth strategy, not to spearhead it. So before I ran our own Shopify apps, I worked on both the agency side and in-house for brands, and I managed $1 million of ad budgets myself. So my whole entire early career was built on ads. But now I've moved away from it because too many brands I've experienced firsthand, too many brands and startups use test and learn as an excuse when running ads and hoping to buy the product market fit, even when they haven't even worked out their fundamentals like unit economics, positioning, pricing, ideal customer profile, so they're just burning cash on ads. Grace already has an existing audience that already trusts her as a nutritionist. So she should lean into it and turn her social media following into her own audience, and then diverse her distribution and marketing channels. And afterwards, she can promote her best organic content with ads rather than purely running cold traffic campaigns, hoping to find customers as a new brand. And by sharing her founder's journey and posting a mix of educational and behind the scenes content, it's more likely to encourage people who will share and talk about her products without her asking and prompting. And that's what we call earned media. Okay, time to sum up everything in a quick checklist. Number 1, ads should not be your sole distribution strategy. Even if you're covering your daily ad spend with just one sale, you know, people love talking about ROAS or ROI, you're still just renting an audience. You have no way to reach your audience once you start running ads. Which brings me to number 2. It's never too early to build your own audience. So start with your email list, then your social media following. Both will eventually lead to building your earned audience as well, which is other people talking about your products without you prompting them or paying them. And when people say, hey, let me know when you restock, don't just take their word for it. Get them to do something, take action. Get them to sign up with their email. That's the real expression of interest, a leading indicator. Of course, even better if you can capture a commitment to buy. Pre-orders and sales are a lagging indicator, but that's what reflects your actual demand. Number 3, share your story early and share it often. This might sound very uncomfortable for introverted founders, including myself. You probably can't tell I'm an introvert because I'm super energized when I talk about marketing, but don't be shy about sharing your journey. I understand like it's hard to take that first step, but you'll be surprised how many people would love and want to support someone building a business, especially if you're young or if you're just starting out and you show that you have strong conviction that your target customers can resonate with. A dress brand founder in New York should have been documenting her dress design process months before launch, before she reached out to me. The vase maker in Austria should have been sharing his 3D printing experiments. And Grace was already doing this as a nutritionist. That's why her launch has a much better chance of success. There are so many content creators sharing their journeys on social media these days, so I'm sure you'll be able to find inspiration quite easily. Number 4, think beyond just online channels. Yes, Shopify is your online store, but distribution is about sharing something out there amongst a number of people. Not just digital ads, not just social media. So where else can the vase maker sell? Like I asked him on Etsy, at local gift shops, interior design studios. Decide who your potential customers are first, and then you can look at the 19 traction channels and decide which one you want to bet on first. Not gonna lie, for early startups and new brands, it can be a gamble because you're still trying to figure things out, right? Where else can Grace distribute her prenatal supplements? Could be used for upselling with her nutrition consultancy services, partnerships with obstetricians. I don't know whether I pronounced that right. Maybe share it in local parenting groups. So don't just think about online channels, think about offline as well. Number 5, remember differentiation and distribution. Your product and positioning might be differentiated now, but it's a copycat economy nowadays. So copycats will show up. It's a matter of when, not if. So eventually it will become about who can put their product in front of the most relevant people, most cost efficiently, and to acquire them at the lowest cost. That's not the same as who spends the most on ads. It's about being where your customers already are. Doesn't matter if it's online and offline. Now, before I wrap up, I'm going to be honest about something. I don't know if any of these 3 merchants have fully implemented what I suggested. I spent time on a call with each of them, gave them tailored advice. I've done my part, but it's up to them to take action. From my experience, most new Shopify merchants, I never actually hear from them again after I've helped them, whether it be through email or a video call. Because the technical setup for Shopify pre-orders, that just takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Well, through our app anyway, depending on your theme. My advice on how to actually get pre-sales, in this case, work out the fundamentals, think about distribution, building your own audience, build that trust, that takes weeks or months of daily grinding. My advice sounds super straightforward, right? But the execution isn't easy. I've done the same for our apps. I can tell you it requires weeks of consistent content creation, engaging in communities, talking to your customers, asking them the right questions to learn about their wants and needs, doing things that's not necessarily directly about sales. So it's so much easier to install a pre-order app and tell yourself that, hey, that's all I need for my launch. Hey, that's a solution. But the merchants who actually manage to sell out their pre-orders, they get started on their marketing and distribution way before they launch. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, or send us an email at hello@shopsite.com.au. If you're interested in running a waitlist and pre-order campaign, you can check out my other videos on what you need to consider before your product launch as well, or maybe a step-by-step walkthrough. I'll see you next time.